Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show with Rick Trader and Anna Little. If you would like to hear a rebroadcast of today's show, please check out our websites, CCRS Network and ccrshow.com. Also, please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. And our next guest is with us, and the honor of the introduction is mine. Matthew Vadum is a senior vice president at Capital Research Center, a conservative think tank in Washington, D.C. Vadum's work has been cited by Fox News, WND.com, Weekly Standard, Wall Street Journal, USA Today, Christian Science Monitor, and many other media outlets. Matthew's an award-winning investigative journalist with a lively, witty writing style, and he's appeared on many television stations, including Daily Show, CBS Evening News, O'Reilly Factor, Your World with Neil Cavuto, Laura Ingraham Show. The list goes on and on. Matthew Vadum, welcome back to Conservative Commandos radio show.
Hey, thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to be with us. I'm pretty excited about this title you have here. Ocasio-Cortez, quote, "Capitalism won't always exist. The Democrats' new folk hero gives a very revealing interview." And this is an article written by you. Looks like it was at Front Page Mag. Tell us, what were you writing about here?
Well, it's an interview that the new wonderkind of the left, the new folk hero, Alexandria Ocasio, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Apologies, sir, if I'm not. Ocasio is Ocasio-Cortez. Sure, I had to actually look at it. She won the primary. She beat Joe Crowley, the number 4 Democrat in the House of Representatives. And she's a member of the Democratic Socialists of America. The DSA endorsed her. So she is a socialist, Marxist, small c communist, whatever you want to call her. And she gave an interview where she wouldn't commit to maintaining markets, to keeping capitalism as the economic system of the United States. And I thought that was disturbing. So I wrote about it, and she's well on her way because she's won the primary in a place where, the Democrat goes on to win invariably the general election. She's an incoming congresswoman who will take office in January, and she's not committed to America's largely free market system, and that ought to scare people. And this kind of thing is taking over the Democrat Party at the moment, and people need to know about it.
Yeah, she is quite frankly frightening. She said that capitalism is a fleeting phenomenon, and I guess she said that to someone at PBS. And it seems like she thinks that in history, capitalism has not always existed, and it won't always exist. I don't think that's an accurate description of our history. I think capitalism has always existed, and I think it always will. But what is your opinion with regard to that, Matthew?
Well, it's pretty hard to get rid of capitalism. If people have capitalism, started along several hundred years ago, depending upon how you define capitalism. Market-based economics got a boost once people no longer were starving. Once subsistence farming went away, and people were able to produce a surplus that could be traded, people had more money, and the standard of living overall in the society went up dramatically. This is starting a few hundred years ago. And this is capitalism, even though in its earliest iterations, it kind of looked more like mercantilism. Monopolies being enforced by various national governments against monopolies in other countries. It gets kind of weird and obscure. But the point is that as long as people have had the ability to produce surpluses and to trade, there has been capitalism. And what gave people these surpluses that they were able to trade and thereby make themselves and society wealthier in the process? Freedom, economic freedom. And this soon-to-be Congresswoman has no, wouldn't commit to being able to continue to advocate a government that respects our economic freedoms, and that's worrisome.
Well, I'd like to bring into this conversation a comparison, perhaps, between this socialist ideal that this candidate for Congress is espousing, the way that the American government operates. And I would like to contrast that in some way, because it seems to me that a government that is by and for the people and directed by the people cannot, by definition, be the kind of socialist government that she's describing. And if that's true, well, then what does she intend with regard to our form of government? Now, would you like to comment on that at all?
Well, I don't know that I don't know that these people, these Democratic Socialists of America people, have a firm idea of what they want to replace the current system with. Some want, a dictatorship of the proletariat, as Karl Marx called it, where everything is run by workers, and others want just, the state, the government, to administer the economy directly and make all economic decisions. So it's kind of hard to pin them down because they don't like to be pinned down on these questions. So I'm not sure what she wants, but I know that it's something that most Americans would not like. They would not like their economic freedoms being taken away.
Well, that is where I'm headed with this, because quite frankly, I can't see Americans throwing away our form of government for anybody. They may be unhappy with the economics of a certain presidential administration. They may be unhappy with the dysfunctional manner in which Congress operates for any temporary period of time. But I do not think that the large majority of Americans think that our form of government is failing in some way. So, Matthew, I wonder, how far do you think this Democratic Party is going to get if they're espousing socialism in the way that this new or purported Democratic leader, Ocasio-Cortez, would describe it? I mean, I don't know where the Democratic Party.
How far will they go? I don't know it. I don't want to find out.
No, neither do I.
This is why I wrote the article, to warn people about
Absolutely, you did, and thank God that you did. Now, you say that socialists and communists all want government or the collective to be the master. I'm so glad that you put it that way, because that's exactly what socialism does. It creates a master-servant or master-slave relationship between the government and the people. It's a really bad concept. And
yeah, well, as David Horowitz said to me years ago, don't assume that these people have thought all this stuff through carefully. And he's a former communist himself, or self-described Marxist. So they don't necessarily know what they want. They know that they hate the current system. They hate America, what it stands for, and they want to overthrow the current system.
Well, I'd love to tell them that, if they hate America that much, there are other countries they could live in. That's what I would like to say.
Well, yeah.
We're happy with what we have here. But, you talk also about the difference between socialists and communists, whether they're really looking for revolutionary action or not, and that there's a difference between them. So why don't you help us with that a little bit?
Well, Karl Marx said socialism was a way station. It was a temporary a state of being on the way to true communism. Socialism is like collective government ownership of the means of production and of all the economic entities, all the productive entities in society. Communism is sitting around the campfire kumbaya. That's where everybody just loves each other, and there's no reason for a government. It's a commune. It's like a kibbutz in Israel, and there's no enforcement mechanisms, and you just have to trust everybody to respect your rights, and just hope that they do. And it's not a very productive system. It doesn't protect people's rights. It goes against human nature. People are selfish. And you have to do certain things in order to stay alive, in order to exist. So This is what communism is. Socialism similarly takes away the incentive for people to be productive. What was it Marx saying? That's become a cliche nowadays. To each according to his ability. From each according to his ability, to each according to his needs. So you work as hard as you possibly can, and other people get to enjoy the fruits of your labor, whether they work or not. And this is not a sustainable system. It doesn't work. It's not a good idea.
Well,
Does that answer your question? I know
these
things are hard to explain.
Well, no, I think you're doing a great job of explaining it, and quite frankly, you're making me think of the country of Greece, where we saw a situation in which the government just became the largest employer and then wasn't able to pay its bills and therefore wasn't able to continue at that level of employing everybody, and people were demanding, benefits and whatnot from the government, and then the government, it just imploded, and it seems to me that should have been a lesson, and unlike I guess those of us who see it that way, these folks are still thinking that they can get elected, saying they're going to hand people free stuff. And apparently, in this particular primary, Democrats in a majority in that district believed her. So we've got a problem.
They do. They're fed. They want to do crazy things like abolish ICE. The Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency. They think that borders are racist. Which is probably one of their craziest ideas, that the fact that we're a nation and that we try to act like it means that we're bad people, that we're racist, and this is just insane.
I agree.
This is the kind of thing that these people support. They just want to overthrow the system.
Well, I agree with you, Matthew, and you've just transitioned beautifully to the next set of questions we're going to go through with you. But I do have to take a quick break. I hope that you'll hold on so that we can continue on the other side of this break. Listeners, we are coming to you from the Conservative Commandos Radio Network studios and around the world on the internet with TalkStream Live, iHeartRadio, TuneIn, American Political Radio, Leading Edge Radio Network, and AM/FM 24/7. I'm Anna Little, co-hosting today with producer Rick Trader, who's in the studios. We are speaking this segment with Matthew Vadum, Senior Vice President at Capital Research Center. We'll be right back with you after this break.
This is J.D. Manier, co-host on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Are you among the millions of Americans who feel uncertain when it comes to their health care? We're happy to inform you that there is a solution, and that solution is Liberty Health Share. Liberty Health Share is a community of like-minded people that work together to pay for their medical costs. There are no networks, so you get to choose your doctor and hospital. Liberty Health Share allows you to easily decide how, when, and where you will access health care. It could be the best practical, moral, and economical choice for you and your family. Starting at $107 a month for a single, up to $449 a month for a family. That's mom, dad, and all kids. This is the way healthcare should be. For more information, call 855-585-4237 or visit libertyhealthshare.org. That's libertyhealthshare.org and regain control over your healthcare costs. Together, we're changing healthcare for good.
Welcome back. Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with Anna Little and yours truly, Rick Trader. And for rebroadcast of our shows, please check out our websites, ccrshow.com or CCRS Network. Please like us, friend us, and follow us on Facebook and on Twitter. Our guest this segment is Matthew Vadum. He is a Senior Vice President at Capital Research Center, and we're talking about Ocasio-Cortez. Capitalism won't always exist. The Democrats' new folk hero gives a very revealing interview. Matthew, thank you for holding through that break. We do appreciate your time.
Right. We're happy to be here again.
Matthew, DNC Chairman Tom Perez has hailed her as, quote, the future of our party. Do you think if this is the future of the Democrat Party, that party is actually in deep trouble?
Well, I think it is the future of the Democratic Party. In fact, it's actually the present of the Democratic Party, because most of the members of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, which is 70 or 80 or so members of the U.S. House of Representatives, are already members of the Democratic Socialists of America organization, the same one that soon-to-be Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez belongs to. So this is what these people already stand for. The difference now is that the louder activists who aren't part of the party machinery, who aren't part of the party establishment, are coming forward and defeating incumbents like Joe Crowley, who was the Congressman Joe Crowley, who was the number 4 ranking Democrat among House Democrats in the U.S. House of Representatives. She took him out a month ago, and this is a sign of things to come. Now, he was already a big lefty, but he wasn't motivated to be as hardcore. I'm thinking that his beliefs are probably not that different from soon-to-be Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but he's less motivated, and he doesn't have to press as hard to achieve them. Now people are getting elected, people are getting winning nominations for the Democratic Party who are motivated to make their crazy ideas happen. Crazy ideas like abolishing, like getting rid of ICE so that there's no immigration police at all, nobody to enforce these matters at our borders. They want to have a $15 an hour or more minimum wage. They want Medicare for all. They want all sorts of other crazy ideas to be implemented, and that's what these people want. And they're going to, not only are they wrong, they're misguided, but they're going to bankrupt the United States. But they're fine with that because it's all in pursuit of their abstract social justice ideals. So they're okay with ruining America in order to change it into something they're more comfortable with.
Well, Matthew Vadum, apparently at least her district is fine by this. She won by a 57% to 42%. An incumbent congressman, as you said, Joe Crowley was like the 4th in line in the Democrat line in the House of Representatives. So at least the people in her district surely are buying into what she's saying.
Yeah, they are. But, that's one of those places, it's that old expression, they'd elect a dog as congressman as long as he's a Democrat. So, it's in Brooklyn and Queens, I believe, or the Queens of the Bronx. So they're going to vote Democrat no matter who's running. But the point is that all the radical lefties have seized all the excitement. They have the at least emotional momentum right now, and they are, experiencing a lot of success in primary elections right now, and so they're muscling out the old guard, who are ideologically not that different, but the old guard is, like people like Nancy Pelosi are, there are limitations on what they feel that they can do. They're not going to push as hard to put all of their radical ideas in, because they are responsible to existing constituency groups and so on, and they don't have a free hand. Whereas these new people have a free hand to do whatever they want, and to be as radical and to be as damaging to the status quo as they feel is necessary.
Matthew Vadum, what else can you tell us about this DSA, this small C communist group?
Well, they reportedly have 45,000 members, and a lot of them are academics. And, like Francis Fox Piven, the Marxist academic and activist, responsible for the Cloward-Piven strategy in the 60s to bankrupt state and local governments in order to bring about a collapse of the government, leading into, a much bigger government control over everything. And it is one of these groups that you've never heard of, but that is very important in among the Democratic Party's far left wing. They're influential. They throw their weight around, and when they say things get done. Their wishes are obeyed.
For one, I would love to ask her, if socialism is so great, why hasn't it worked in places like Cuba or Venezuela? Venezuela, back in the 1960s, was like the third largest economy in the Western world, behind the United States and Canada. But besides that, Matthew, there are a couple other leftist socialists running out in California on the West Coast, and recently they attended a fundraiser which was headlined by Nancy Pelosi, and during that fundraiser, these candidates refused to say that they would vote for Nancy Pelosi as Speaker of the House. I think that not only Joe Crowley, but the rest of the Democrat leadership has a lot to worry about, don't you?
Definitely. They're being threatened on their left flank by these people, and these people don't have any respect for them. They want to push them out. Now, I'm not going to take a position on whether Nancy Pelosi should be pushed out. I think it's good for Republicans that she stay in place, but I'm not in charge of what happens in the Democratic Party. They want to get rid of everybody who's old line and who accepts certain the pieties of the left that have been enforced for the last few decades. Now, the emerging insurgent left is crazy left, and they want to do really, really radical things, and they're going to alienate. They're going to excite their hardcore supporters, I suppose, the base of the Democratic Party, but they're not. I think they're going to have trouble outside of the places where they're strong at getting new recruits and getting new voters, moderate voters to support them. People aren't going to want to vote for a crazy anti-American party.
Matthew Vadum, what does this say, in your way of thinking, what does this say for this blue wave, this Democrat blue wave that's supposed to come through in 2018?
Well, I don't know if it's going to happen. I know traditionally the party that controls the White House takes a drubbing usually in off-year congressional elections, like we're about to have in November. But every once in a while they don't. And right now the Democrats are behaving so irresponsibly, so radically, and they're turning people off. The question is that going to be enough to help Republicans keep control of Congress? In the Senate, there's a lot of Democrats are in a really weak position. A lot of the Democrats up for re-election in the Senate in 2018 are in red states that Trump won, in some cases really, really easily. And the House, where there's a margin of, a couple of dozen, I'm sorry, I don't cover the exact details of the horse race really, really closely, but I know that the Republicans have a healthy margin in the House, but it could easily be wiped out, if a few percentage points turn against them. So, you could have a situation whereby the Republicans' control of the House is weakened, but they're still in control. I don't know.
Matthew Vadum.
I don't know. Yeah.
Matthew Vadum, Senior Vice President at the Capital Research Center. We want to thank you for joining us here on the Conservative Commandos radio show. Please tell our audience how they could follow your work.
Well, here at capitalresearch.org. Capitalresearch.org, that's where I work, Senior Vice President. I have a website, personal website, MatthewVadum, VADUM.com, where you can view my works, and I'm also a pretty regular contributor to frontpagemag.com, which is where you saw the article that inspired this interview about soon-to-be Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. That's frontpagemag.com.
Matthew Vadum, again, thank you for joining us. Take care and God bless.
Thank you. Okay, bye-bye.